Welcome to the Jake Turner Podcast, where we share tools to win in life, health, and business. Hello, I'm Jake Turner. I have my doctorate in nurse anesthesia and a professionally certified life coach. Today's guest is Canadian-born and American-forged. Jim Poirier became a United States Marine at 18, serving as an F-18 mechanic aboard 5 aircraft carriers. After the military, he built a career at Caterpillar across engineering, finance, and artificial intelligence, then retired at 49. Today, he runs a veteran-owned woodworking business alongside his wife, Jamie, a Navy veteran, and together they're building a life of purpose while giving back to the veteran community that shaped them. Please welcome my good friend and mentor, Jim.
Hey, thanks, Jake.
Yeah, glad to have you here.
Hey, good to be here.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Love it.
You say God's got it.
Yes.
What happened in your life that made that belief real?
You know, I can go back to so many things in my life about God's got it. We did a thing at our church where it was a sign, right? And we put it in front of our yard, says God's got it. But well before that, if you start thinking about it, my whole life decision, when I was 18 years old, my parents, they said, hey, you have an older brother and an older sister, and we're out of money for you to go to college. So what are you going to do? And I ended up, I remember it was pretty much, that's when I gave my life to God. And I said, hey, you have me, you put me where you want me. And at the time it was either to go to college, which I didn't have money for, and I was going to have to go get some loans, and I didn't know how to do all that, or it was go join the military. I went in and I signed up for the Army, and the Army is, they were promised me all kinds of stuff, right? I was like, God's got it. Where am I going? And my buddy comes to me and he goes, hey, you should join the Marine Corps. You want a real challenge in your life? Join the Marine Corps. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool, you know? And so I ended up joining the Marine Corps. But throughout my whole life, I feel like I'm a chess piece and God just moves me where he wants me. And it's that path that I've just let him guide me where he needs me to be. I don't know how I get to places, how I was covered. I never had to be laid off. As a fortunate thing, right? I've never been laid off. I remember being at Caterpillar one year, and I was part of an agency where they said, hey, we're laying off this whole team. I had just transitioned from being an agency worker to a Caterpillar full-time employee. And I don't know how that happened. Like, he moved me in the right direction. Meeting people, you just don't worry about it. And you just give your life to God, and you know it's in his hands. And one of the greatest things I remember, I watched or listened to a lot of different podcasts, and one of the gentlemen said, you know, if you ever stress about your life, it's not your problem. If you give it to God, it's his problem. So you're driving home one night and your transmission goes out. God, your car transmission just went bad on it, man. How are you going to fix this?
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
you got to have a little bit of a light attitude with it, but at the same time, it's, you know, he's got your back. You know, he's got it.
I think that's really powerful, and God's got it. And I can think in my own life recently, times where I'm really stressed we're just getting through the holidays. There's times where you feel overwhelmed.
Absolutely.
And I've been thinking that same thing recently. Like, God, look what I got for you.
Yeah.
Plenty of sadness and depression.
Wait a minute. You put me in this spot. How do I get out of here? You know?
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And it's very relieving because if you can truly take that weight and give it to him, then you can carry yourself a lot easier too. And to know that sometimes God will send you in a direction that you don't think of, and it can benefit you. So an example of that is today. I'm like, okay, I want to be ready on time for the podcast, do these things. You know, I'm running around different stores this morning, and I ran to Home Depot to get something for something later, you'll see. And then I forgot a battery. I'm like, shoot. And so I went back, and when I was talking to the guy helping me out to get the battery and what I was doing it for, he's like, oh, well, I am a videographer for a recovery podcast. And then we connected, and now I have this new
cool
avenue for podcast guests and connected with that. And it's like, if I hadn't gone back for that battery, that opportunity wouldn't have presented itself. So
absolutely.
Again, it's a true testament that God's delays are not God's denials.
Absolutely. It's his time, not ours.
Yeah, exactly. And he's always right on time.
Absolutely. It may not be your right on time, right?
No. I want it to be.
It's an inconvenience for us. because we want it right away. We're that child,
Yeah.
and we're kicking and screaming inside, and we want it done. And God's like, you got to be patient. And some people, I don't pray for patience. I pray for wisdom. I don't pray for patience because He's going to test your patience.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, exactly. And there's times I feel like I'm a pretty patient person, even though I don't like my patience to be tested.
Mm-hmm.
I still hit a point though. I'm like, okay, like I don't like it if someone asks me the same question over again. And if someone does it like 7 or 8 times, I'm like, okay, look.
Yeah.
I want to ask real quick. We used to work together.
Absolutely.
That's how we first met. What was your first impression of me when we met? I'm kind of curious because I was
Jake.
17 at the time.
Yeah, you were. It's interesting because when we worked together, I just became a manager, and I didn't. You were pretty much my first employee, other than the ladies that worked in assembly, right? I didn't have a good understanding of how to be a manager, but I think we're going to talk about this a little bit. I was taught, without me knowing it, how to lead. And I lead by example. I think we worked together. I didn't have you work for me. And I carried that through my career. I didn't teach people that they were less than me. I made sure that I worked with them. So your first impression was, here's this young kid right out of high school, or in high school still.
Yeah.
How do I help him learn and be self-sufficient? That way I don't have to be there all the time with him. And your adaptability was amazing. Like, I could see why you were the top notch in your class. You brought ideas to me and we made those work. I don't know if you remember that. I was like, well, hey, what if we didn't build everything all at once? We had all of these pallets of builds that we had to do, and we built circuit boards. And they would go out and pull all these builds, and they would have all of these things sitting on the shelves without us having a plan for them. So we ended up making a plan. I have an engineering degree. You were fresh. You had some great ideas. And so we ended up saying, how do we not overwhelm these people that are working for us, but how do we make it more meaningful? And not, our number one goal was end of the month rush. I wanted to get rid of that end of the month rush feeling. And I think a lot of companies go through that because that's how they balance their books. They want to make sure they get as much profit out at the end of the month. And me and you were like, we're getting rid of that terminology. We're going to make it easier for these people. And you helped me building those frames for those boxes. And as we looked at them, we're like, how do we make this more efficient? And you had that mentality. You had that brain of making the process better. And I think that helped me make it better for the other ones because I was in that leadership position. But I think my impression of you was, wow, this guy, he's going places, but not at ATS. Sorry, can I say that?
Yeah, I think it's okay. We're not...
It's an abbreviation, but not at this place, right? I knew you had a better future. And I could see that. And that foresight was, how do I help him grow out of this? And I eventually saw myself grow out of that as well. And here we are.
Yeah. It's wild, and I appreciate you saying it because some of your perspective on me, I never would have even thought of. And I can think that makes sense because something I learned about myself recently is a question I'd always be asking myself is, how can I be better?
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually had to learn to replace that question because there's nothing wrong with being better. Like after this podcast is done, we'll sit down and say, hey, how can we make this better?
Mm-hmm.
The problem with me constantly asking myself, how can I be better, was I was using that as a guideline to feel loved and accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's not fair to myself. So then I replace it with, how can I appreciate even more God's love and guidance, assuming I'm already loved, I'm already being guided, and using that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of respect for you during that time as well, because I remember you were going to school and me and you were both pushing ourselves so hard, doing things like you would go out and study and eat lunch in your car.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I would pull the classic move. I don't know if anyone watching this ever has done this, working multiple jobs. I'd go to college, do another job. Before I go to ATS, I'm changing my clothes in the car, putting on a suit and tie, you know, because that was required in the corporate world. And it's just such a grind,
Yeah, it is.
you know?
It is. And, you say that, but we did what we had to do as people and making it work. I say making it work, but it was a time where the struggle was absolutely real for me and Jamie because we didn't know what was going on. And we talked about God earlier and putting you in these situations to make you stronger. That's what built me where I'm at in my life. I use those scenarios to help others, right? Like that's why I got my engineering degree and went to work for a company, whether that grind was daily or not. But I also, in that time, never stopped learning for myself. I grew myself. I learned about financial wisdom. I taught myself how to work with tools. I helped others along the way with their financial journeys. And I think that's why I saw that in you is like, how do I make this person better, not me better? And I think you'll see that in different management styles. You'll see people, how do I make myself better and get up that ladder versus how do I help those people climb that ladder and surpass me? Because I think Steve Jobs said it. If you want somebody that's going to be great, you hire somebody better than you and they'll work with you and they'll work really good alongside of you. And I'm not quoting that one.
Yeah. They're like, was I better than you at 17?
Well, no, I don't. I mean, I wasn't better. I don't think I myself as better than anybody. We all have different skill sets.
Of course.
And that's how God made us. And that goes back to my company, right? Pair Talents. My last name is Poirier. And it's not my talents, it's God's talents. And that's why that talent starts with a cross on my logo. It's all about God and country and the religion that comes with it.
The lesson of leading by example, I think is the best lesson you can have. Now, you may not remember this conversation, but I think when I have the same conversation with other people I interact with, they will remember it the same way I did because it's very impactful. But I remember when I was 17, you were 27 at the time. I think we're about 10 years difference
about right
in age. You said, Jake, one day you're going to wake up and like that, you'll be 27. And I'm like, I'm invincible,
Yeah.
But I remember when one day when I was 27, I'm like, oh crap, like time flew by. And that always stuck with me. And it really made me appreciate time as well. Another story I want to make sure I mention before I go through these other questions, that the best example that you did for me when it comes to leadership and leading by example is I had a summer when I was working there, and I was an industrial engineer major before I did any of my medicine stuff, and I was having just a really tough time, a really tough summer, and I had broken both my arms. I don't know if you remember riding my dirt bike. So I'm trying to build circuit boards. I have two broken arms. I'm soldering circuit boards, and I was having some family troubles at home. It was really tough, and I also remember like my debit card or credit card got hacked at the same time. It was one of those moments. And it's got like what else?
Right.
What more is gonna go wrong?
Right.
And I came to work, and it was right around my birthday, and you and some of the workers, like I'd walked out into where we're gonna go work and build circuit boards, and you had like a birthday cake, and you guys were all singing "Happy Birthday," and I was just like, oh God, like. It just like I want to say like it broke me in like a good way. It's like, oh man, this is just what I needed,
Wow.
in that moment, and I'll never forget that. And just want to say thank you.
I really appreciate that, Jake. I do. I remember the broken arms. I remember talking with you and telling you that 27-year-old was going to come real quick. I'll tell you 49's coming quick too. But I'm not trying to make you anxious about it.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, it's that was my young career. And I've taken that and I've learned from my other managers. I had great managers and I had really sad managers. And the great managers made me feel like a person. They were very personal with me. They talked to me like I was a true human being. And I think I took that with me because, well, I don't think so. I know so. I've had employees after you tell me, "Hey, you're the only manager I've ever had that shows that they care." I would sit with them every week and ask them not only about their career, but how's life going? What's going on? Any struggles? How are the kids, the family? And I think a lot of people don't think about that outside of work and birthdays, especially. It's not a big thing you think about when you think about the corporate world. Some companies do, and they're really good at it. Some companies don't. And I always made it a point whenever an employee of mine and I still tell them happy birthday sometimes, I would write it in my personal notes and remember that, hey, this is their birthday. But an impact that you can have on somebody is treat them like a human, treat them like a person outside of work. They have feelings too. They're not just a machine that comes to work every day. And I made it very flexible. If you broke your arms and couldn't make it to work, I would do everything I could to get you that paycheck so you would have something. I mean, when you're hitting somebody when they're down already, that's not somebody you want to be. You want to be somebody has compassion about it. Now, you ask my wife if I have compassion at home, and she'll say no. But I took it to work, and that's something I need to work about, on, because I put so much of that at work, and you get home and you're just overwhelmed with everything else that's going on at home. And I think I've said this too to some of my other employees as I got into my career a little bit more, like, hey, we're here from 7 a.m. till 4 p.m. and I spend 8 hours with you, maybe go to lunch with you sometimes. I'm at home. I get home maybe at 5 and I'm going to bed at 10. I'm 5 hours with my family, but I'm 8-9 hours here with you. Where should my priorities be? At home, right? Yes, but I need to be developing that relationship on a personal level with you too, and not just as an employee that's just making money for me. And I think I've taken that a little bit through my career. So yeah, that's one thing that I love doing, and seeing the smile on people's faces when I did that.
I think you made a great point too about treating people like they're humans, because I've been in places where I work and I work 12 hours and I have 10 minutes in between something I'm doing, and they'll call me like, "Oh, you got lunch, right?" What? Mother, what? I work 12 hours.
Yeah.
And it's like, go, go, go. And part of the American culture is to treat people like they're machines. We're not machines.
No.
We're humans.
Yep.
Everything, like you said, you're coming to work, you have everything else going on outside of work. Did you even get sleep? Most people have relationship problems. Are you dealing with illness?
Yeah.
And something, especially in the medical field, there is very little sympathy for people that get sick. It's like, oh, unless you're on a ventilator, you can't call it sick.
Sounds like the military, Jake.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in that same sense, it's like, oh, you're hurt. Well,
do you have a piece of paper that says you're hurt?
Right.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Oh, you don't? Oh, well,
get back out there.
Front of the line. So yeah, just treating people like they're human because they are, and not pretending we're machines or trying to act like one. I never want to act like I'm a machine.
Yeah.
And as a person leaning more into being loving and being passionate and not afraid to show that, because that's what life's about. Yeah. Enhancing your emotions, enhancing passion, creating memories. And that's what makes life worth living.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to sit back and remember, oh, I built that circuit board. It's so great. It's just perfect.
Right? We don't know about that. Which one are you talking about? Yeah. I got great stories on those. But yeah, I mean, it's like the old saying, right? You go to somebody's grave, it says, this person never missed a day of work, or, hey, this person was a great dad. Which one do you want on your tombstone?
Yeah.
That's really impactful.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you see that everywhere. And, it's not a Hallmark card, but it's the truth. It's, what do you want to be? What do you want your legacy to be? Not somebody that was always at work all the time. And I talk about this all day long, but Ed Rapp from Caterpillar, he told a great story. He said, I was working all the time. I was here. I was trying to be the first guy at work. I was trying to be the last guy. He goes, there was a guy that was always beating me. He was always the last one here. He goes, one night, had a heart attack at work, and he died the next day. He goes, in Caterpillar, within a week, had somebody else in his seat. And he goes, don't ever think you're irreplaceable. So what matters to you is probably your home life and being a great person at work, right? But show that compassion to your other coworkers, because you don't know when they're going to be gone. And at the same time, you're not irreplaceable. No matter how much you think you are, you're never going to be irreplaceable.
There's a couple things I want to talk about with what you said.
Yep.
But you had a story about when you got a cake at the same place of work for your graduation.
Absolutely. You remember this, right? We graduation. It was a 4-year degree. I worked. I was going to school. I was working. I got my degree. Finally, like this big achievement, and they realized it, and they bought me a cake. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I get the knife and I start cutting into this thing. I'm like, I don't know where they bought this cake from. Is it like an ice cream cake? I'm cutting. And finally I break through and it's a styrofoam cake. I mean, there's pieces of foam everywhere. And the girl at the time that bought the cake, she's like, I should have known, because I'm walking through. It looked so good. It was the right colors and everything. Southern Illinois, burgundy and gold. And she brings it out and she's like, there's no price on this cake, and they're like, well, let's do a price check, and you go back and forth. And I'm wondering how light this cake had to have been walking around Walmart.
Yeah, because it was from Walmart, I think it was, right? It's like, yeah, it had to be like, oh, wow. This is like,
it would have, I don't know.
It's like, carry with one hand.
Yeah, it was a great cake. Yeah. So we did what we could, and we just still celebrated, right? It didn't matter.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily about the cake. I mean, kind of says a lot about cake and like the different ways it can affect people in life. Like, I feel like I should eat more cake.
Oh yeah, and we actually did that for our my father-in-law and mother-in-law's anniversary. They just turned 50 years wedding anniversary, and my daughter, who's a chef, made him a cake and used styrofoam and said that it came out of the freezer and it had dehydrated itself, right? So it was like they're watching them cut this cake and it's styrofoam cake again. So that carried over into that tradition.
Oh my God, what's up with all the styrofoam cakes? Oh my God.
It's just fun.
Yeah, that you said, start a company where we just sell prank.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Sell
Jake.
prank
You're
cakes.
always looking for those ideas, aren't you?
I mean, it's the novelty in itself, right? I think brings back the lesson of like, it's not actually about the cake.
Yeah.
It's about celebrating someone.
Absolutely.
And if you can add some humor into it, like,
have fun.
Why not?
Yeah.
I want to talk about a lesson real quick. Let's just shift gears that you mentioned from the Caterpillar employee about how he had a heart attack and died at work. Now, I don't know if you know, but that's how my dad died.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. So he worked at O'Reilly Auto Parts. He worked behind the counter selling parts. And he died at work. And one thing that it reminded me of is that I like to wear belts that are like adjustable. Mission belt. I don't know if you have heard of it, but it's almost like a zip tie, and so it's easy to adjust. I'm not wearing one of those right now, but I had got him a specific type of that belt, and the first time he wore it, he kind of panicked because he didn't know how to undo it. So he was like at home, he was like trying to pee and then was freaking out. And so he actually had he cut the belt. And so he ruined the belt, and he'd come to me like, hey, Jake, about that belt you got me. I explained what happened was then some humility in that. And then he passed away at work. And in the meantime, I had bought him another belt. And when I was going through his house, it's a weird thing after one of your parents died, I found the belt. And so when we buried him, we put the belt on, and it was and interesting moment for me. And the specific belt that I got from him, it was interesting because it had a watch on it.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a waste of time.
Wow. Again, that analogy, it's so good.
I had to hit you with a dad joke.
Yeah,
for
you
sure.
got me.
Technically, that was a dead dad joke.
Yeah, well,
Sorry, Dad.
I've been looking at a lot of those different ones. We love those analogy pun jokes at our house. Well, we know that humor very well.
Yeah, it's
But-
kind of mix of dark and
Yeah, but
more appropriate.
you can celebrate him and remember him by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of that was a true story,
Oh,
not the watch part. But.
yeah, but you got it. That was a great joke. A waste of time. That's something that belongs in the Spencer stores.
Yeah, I know. Maybe second product I'll come
Yeah.
out with. You joined the Marines at 18.
Yep.
What did the Marine Corps build in you that never left?
I never left. Wow. There's a lot of things, right? Like you break down. The Marine Corps breaks you down. They teach you that whatever you've done up to this point is worthless in your life, and they rebuild you with things that, little things too, not just big things, but integrity, right? We always talk about integrity. I think after I left boot camp, there was not one thing I could not tell my parents.
Okay.
If I wanted to tell them my deepest, darkest secret, I could tell them,
Wow.
and I wouldn't be worried about it. And I think they teach you that because there's nothing you need to fear that they can't deal with. And that was one of them. But, anything from wearing a belt with my pants. I wear belts all the time with my pants. I cannot wear shorts without a belt. My daughter makes fun of me for tucking in my shirts, But to look professional was a hard thing to get over. I'm wearing a sweatshirt and no strings in it today because I've learned that I'm not in anymore, but I still have that mentality, which was hard to break. I still can't walk across the grass. I still can't drink and eat and chew as I'm walking. Those are things they teach you, little things about life that most people don't even think of. So you see a military guy, especially a Marine, walking across the grass, it's not happening. That's not what we do.
You mean like in a public space versus taking the sidewalk?
Oh, if I'm mowing the grass, I can't go around, right? But
Well, obviously,
we there's a purpose for everything, right? There's a purpose for a sidewalk, so use it. There's a purpose why everything has a purpose. And I remember being every night we would hit our bunks with our hands, and it was our prayer time. It was we would hit the bunks and we would yell RESPECT, and we'd say respect, 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 and that was like, wow, we learned respect, right, for our people that are leading us. You learn respect for them. But then the next day when we woke up, they would make us, first thing in the morning, we'd get our scuzz brushes. They were little brushes about this big, and you'd put them in your hand, and you'd start from one end of the bulkhead all the way to the other end, and you'd brush the floor down. You're like, where the hell did all these dust bunnies come from? Well, it's from the night before when you're hitting the back going respect, because they were wool blankets. So they said at the end of boot camp, everything has a purpose in life. There's a reason we made you do this. It was to get the dander and the dust off of your beds. It wasn't about respect. It was about taking care of things. And that was just one way you learn it. But at the same time, it's like the waste of time. There's another meaning behind it. There's a belt. There's a purpose for that belt. And so we did that every day. But I think integrity of anything, that's really where it came to. And integrity at work, you mess up, Jocko, extreme ownership. That's where it really hit me. I own this problem. It's God's problem, right? But I own it. He's made me responsible for it. So I'm going to do what I can to resolve it and take ownership of even somebody else's mess up. If they're reporting to you or if they work for you, that's your problem.
Right.
That's not their problem.
Yeah.
You're the manager. You should have known better. You should have seen this coming.
Especially if there's no process in place.
Yeah.
I'll take ownership of that. Wait, I don't know if you notice even the podcast today. Oh, that's my mistake. Let's put on the checklist, figure it out so we don't do it again. If there's no system in place, no one can be to blame but myself.
Right.
Because I'm in charge of that.
Exactly. And it teaches you, you know, a lot of times when I was at work, it was like, well, that's above my pay grade. No, it's not. That's your job.
Yeah.
Your job is to find out how to fix it.
Yeah.
And, you know, as I left as I left the military, I took that along with me. And I went to work for Home Depot for a short period of time as I was helping my mom with my dad's passing. We made it work. I worked at Home Depot, and they said, you know, own the product. It's not you that made it, but own the product. And if you ever go to Home Depot, and I don't know if they still do this, their number one thing is taking care of that customer. You walk into any like Walmart or anything, hey, where's this battery? Oh, go to aisle 5 and go get it. You know, Home Depot, they teach their employees to walk that person over there, build that relationship, and basically show them where that product is on the shelf. And if it's not there, you better find it. I remember there was times where people would come in and say, I didn't get this part in my faucet kit. I worked in plumbing. What do? And my manager goes, you rip that box open on the shelf and you give them that missing part of what they need. You take care of that customer, because that's what teaches that person and that customer that we'll take care of you no matter what. And that's what builds that loyalty. And again, it's how do I take accountability for this? Accountability, ownership, you know, all of that was part of my Marine Corps journey.
Well, and that's where I was at this morning. I was at Home Depot.
Oh, good.
And so I could speak to that testament. Everything that I needed, they walk me to it, and they keep getting more efficient. They had something that's really cool where you can scan wherever you're standing if you need help, and then it pages them and then sends you directly someone over in the store. And then when I had questions, they brought me exactly where I needed, explained, grabbed the things, and then brought me back up to the register.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's that culture.
Yeah, it really stands out for sure. So
absolutely.
Props to Home Depot. What did the Marines teach you about manhood that most people never learn?
Which time? You know, I lost my dad at, right after the Marine Corps. And I learned a lot from my dad. I never learned as much, but I remember being at boot camp, and my dad growing up would tell me stories. And it wasn't until I got in the Marine Corps, because at 18, you're defiant. You're 17, you're defiant. 16, you got wheels, you can do whatever you want to. But at 18, I went in the Marine Corps, and it was like, we're all the same. We all put our pants on one leg at a time. We all pee. We all, you know, not to be like that, but we all are humans. And so no matter how good you think you are or how much you think you know more than the next person, you get put in a place with 5 or 10 other guys and you're all the same. No matter what problems you're having, you all go through life the same way. And so it taught me brotherhood, that we're all the same and we should really watch out for each other. But it also taught me that there's not one thing that I can't take on. And I think that's led me a lot through my life too, is challenging myself through learning. Because in the boot camp, they told me, you'll never stop learning. You got to keep learning. If you want to be good and efficient, you got to keep learning. And I thought, well, I'm done. I'm once I'm out of college, I'm done, right?
Yeah, I got a certificate.
I'm done. I got a piece of paper, right?
Yeah.
And then my daughter, I'm going to carry this into my daughter's story. She said, well, I go to college so I can be really efficient at work. I said, no, you go to work to learn or put into practice what you learn in college. Well, she had this mentality that college is going to teach you everything about work.
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, that's the opposite. You cannot go into college and know exactly what you're going to do when you get out. And I think that's what the Marines taught me. Such a broad spectrum of things. But we also taught each other that we have to rely on each other. We're all human. We have to rely on each other. In the field, you have somebody with you that you have to build a relationship with, whether you know it or not. You're going to be with them for 3 days in a foxhole. you better get to know that person because they're going to be defending you if somebody comes and attacks you. So you got to learn to lean on each other.
I think that trust is so important, like you said, in brotherhood, in friendships, and relationships, to truly know you can trust someone and lean on them, even if they're different in ways they communicate or personal preferences. Everyone's going to be different.
Yeah.
But at the core, know someone has your back and they support you. There's just no price you can put on that.
Nope. And you'll only find that really in specific units. I did a study when I got out, and I said, what does that brotherhood look like in a corporate world versus what does it look like in a police fraternity, or what does it look like in the military? And you start looking at that, and you have different cultures where the big corporations, they're not there for the brotherhood. They're there for the best of the company. And in the Marine Corps, you're there for the best of that person, the best of the platoon. And you're sleeping in the same bunk below somebody, and you're doing things that you probably would never do out in public. Like one example, we're out on the field and it's shooting day and we're learning how to use our M16s, and they put you in a squad bay and you go to the bathroom head. We call it the bathroom, the head. You go to the bathroom and there's no stalls. There's just toilets there. And you're literally watching the other guy across from you and you're like, hey, would you pass me section 4 of the paper? You know? And so you're reading the paper as, I mean, there's no humility. Like you're a person.
Right, exactly. Everyone wakes up and takes a poop.
Yeah.
Whatever you, you think of it or not.
Right,
you know?
right.
Absolutely.
And that's really the life lesson, not that we all take poops, but we are all humans and nobody is above the other person.
Yeah.
We all have feelings. We all have emotions. We all need something, basic needs of being a person.
Well, and I think if we can make those basic needs be met a lot easier, then we can achieve those goals. Like if in the corporate world, they kept the same goals, but focus more on meeting the human needs of the people and creating that connection, that community, like a brotherhood.
Right.
Those goals would easily get met.
Well, yeah, exactly. And you know, I go by the code of the Brotherhood, Band of Brothers. And if you ever look that up, there was a movie made about it, but I have a poster in my office. It talks about the Marine Corps Band of Brothers. You know, it's phenomenal how we rely on each other. And I struggled with that in the corporate world. And I think I took that when I took you under my wing. I kind of taught you a little bit about that Band of Brotherhood. We look out for each other. We don't just say, here, you go do this. And if you fail, that's your fault. No, that's my fault. But in the corporate world, I saw no purpose. We had the same goals year after year. And what was the main goal? Profit for the bottom line, right? We want to be in the black. We don't want to be in the red. But what was that purpose in the Marines? I had a purpose there to be ready in case anything happened. Whether they sent me on a mission, whether I needed to go wash an aircraft, I had a purpose. I didn't have that in the corporate world. And I think we're going to talk about this, but why am I where I'm at now? So a little bit of a...
I always thought of you as like a brother, meaning you, and a mentor. And I always thought it was that interesting dynamic that we've always had I'm 40 now, since I was 17. So it's 23 years.
That's a long time.
It's pretty wild. And if we could briefly talk about my more recent journey I've been on, is now I'm a coach. And I didn't realize we had a conversation. It's been months now. Right? But we were talking about coaching, and I asked you, hey, do you mind, if you're open to it, I can coach you briefly if you want to see what it's like.
That was in, let's see here. That was probably February or March of 2025.
So February or March of this year.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation. Could you mind talking about?
I don't mind at all. What
that was like for me to coach you, and then also what resulted from that.
Yeah, for sure, Jake. I think when you said, hey, could you mind if I try? I'm like, yeah, let's play this game, you know? Oh, I got this. And so you got into serious mode, and you're like, so why are you still working? And I said, man, you shouldn't have hit me with that question, because I was always so close to just retirement. You're like, so why don't you do it? And I think the word retirement, what I told you was, I don't want people to think I'm a failure for quitting at such an early age. And you said, what makes you think that you quit? And I said, that's a great question. I'm not quitting. I'm reinventing myself. And that word retirement in our culture has become such a big word where you think balloons are going to drop out of the ceiling and little people are going to come doing backflips when you retire, right?
That's awesome.
You
Surprise, drop the balloons.
Big balloon drop, right?
Yeah.
Because I go back to that, and it's a big point in your life. And most people think retirement is not till 65. And that retirement age keeps getting pushed to 67. Now, if you look at my dad, 49 or 48 years old, he died at 48. And I started thinking, I'm 48, or I'm 40, I had just turned 49. And what is going to be my next step? If it's retirement, balloons dropping, everything, people doing backflips, no, it's not retirement. It's doing what I want to do instead of what I have to do. And that's where I found myself. And you asked that question, why aren't you doing it? And I said, probably money. And money is so good right now. I don't have to worry about anything. And then I thought to myself, there's a Bible verse about this. And that was after our conversation, right? For the love of money is evil. And I don't love money, but I want to have enough to be comfortable. Well, what is comfortable? How are you comfortable? And you got to look at that in your life and go, why am I still doing what I don't want to do? You know, I had a manager that was horrible at that time. I'm not going to say any names, but just we went through 3 levels of management. And in his defense, he wasn't aware of what our team was capable of doing, where we came from, our back, history. And so he was trying to do his best to lead. But at the same time, I wasn't happy because I had fallen into this position that I did at ATS. I was a project manager. I was managing processes. I was a Six Sigma black belt again. And I've done this. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm being repetitive. And so after applying for multiple roles and getting rejected because I was overqualified at that point, I thought maybe this is God's way of telling me, hey, this is your next step. All these doors I'm closing, and I'm not going to allow you to enter that door. And a door opened for me. And I remember specifically, I tell this to not a lot of people, but there was one time I was laying in bed and I was just half asleep. And I heard, and this was like 2 years ago, what are you going to do with your life? And I was like, God, what? And it hit me like over and over. It's almost became, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I did great things. And don't get me wrong. I don't know how impactful they were, but I really appreciate the feedback. But what am I going to do with my life? And that's where I thought, what is my purpose? I don't have a purpose at work anymore. I'm just another project manager trying to figure out how we're going to make the bottom line look good. I need purpose. And that's when I really got into woodworking. And it's not just woodworking, because as a woodworker, I can make anything.
A new podcast table.
I knew a podcast
we
table.
will.
I can make coasters. I can make bottle openers. I can make tables. I made dressers. I made end tables. But what is my purpose? And so I started doing things as I served in the military. How do I continue that service outside? And that's really where it hit me, because I was doing markets and just trying to sell just about anything. We were selling little pumpkins that were wooden 2x4s.
Oh.
And it worked.
That's cool.
It sold. But how do we make it more impactful? And I remember, and I'm going to divulge in the story because I love the story.
Yeah, go ahead.
There was this lady with her baby walking by our tent all the time, and it hit her like, oh my gosh, this guy's doing military stuff. And she stopped and it said, remember, everybody deployed. And it had a soldier with a candle in the back, just something I had just cut. And I was trying my art and lasering. And she goes, I need that. And I said, okay, $20. So she bought it. Next week she comes, she goes, I love that candle. It's so cool. She goes, oh my gosh, you have something else. And it was another one of the art that had a deployed person on there, and it said RED, remember, everybody deployed. She goes, I got to have that. She reaches down to get her purse, and her purse isn't there. She goes, I got to go get my wallet out of my car. And I said, no, you don't. And I picked up that piece and I handed it to her. And I said, thank you for supporting me. And she goes, you don't understand. She goes, my husband's deployed and I'm here with my son. And every week I come here to get away so I can have a little bit of time with my son to walk around the park. And I find you, and here you are making cool stuff for the military community. And it was then she broke down and started crying because I told her, I said, you know, I sell this art, but I've been there. Jamie was on a carrier on the Nimitz for 6 months. I know what it's like. I remember getting out of the military and seeing our deployed folks over, I'm a little close to that mic.
Oh, I think
Our
you're fine.
deployed folks overseas fighting a war. And most people are just sitting around the restaurant. And here I am just glued on this TV going, oh my gosh, what's going on? And the civilian world goes on, the life goes on. But those folks that are deployed, they have families back home that are hurting. And it's taken that time to acknowledge them and give them a hug and say, it's going to be okay. And she was crying right in front of me. And as a man hugging a woman, it's like, do I hug her? Do I just tap her on the shoulder? You know, I gave her a full on hug and I said, I've been there. I know your pain. And 3 months later, she comes over with her husband. I got to meet him.
Oh, wow.
And
How
it was
cool is
so
that?
cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You know, and here she is. Her baby boy is growing up and everything. And it was just that impact that I can have on somebody's life. And ever since then, as we make things, it has a purpose for someone. I don't care what I'm making. I'll carve stars into my flags as I pray over each one of our stars. We went to a reading for a POW MIA event. I grabbed all of the sheets of papers of all the names on them, took them back to my shop, and as I'm carving, I'm saying these names and putting the name of that POW in the flag so we don't forget that these people fought for us. But that's the passion that I have for my business. I could sell anything wooden, but when I can make a piece that has so much more meaning, that's a purpose.
Absolutely. And I want to bring it back to the conversation we had because it was a couple months later, maybe even a month later,
Yeah.
2 months later.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 months later after we talked. And I remember you were having trouble with what your purpose was and getting clarity on that, which is super common in coaching people in different stages of your life. And when I called you, you're like, oh yeah, I quit. I quit my job like a month ago. I retired. It's like, what?
Thanks, Jake.
Yeah.
I'll be coming over to live at your house.
Right. Like, all right, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a very impactful conversation. I think with the coaching, it really opened up it allowed me to get rid of my emotions about it. And then going back and going, God's got it, right? Going back to that first lesson. If I can't trust God and say, this is in his hand, I'm putting my life in his hands. He's going to guide me where he wants to be. And I truly believe that voice in my head was, what are you going to do with your life? That was the purpose.
Well, and if I can make an observation as well, we don't have to talk about your father much if you don't want to, but you said that some of the mentality you got from growing up with him was that, oh, nothing's ever good enough. You know, so people developed, like you developed this work ethic, this drive because I'm not good enough, which in reality, that was a complete lie. You've accomplished some completely amazing things through work, your family, and creating your own business. And then you reframed your situation as well and then took control of it. And then when you went home later, you then coached yourself, which then also happens. So sometimes the coaching can actually happen afterwards.
Absolutely.
And then you're thinking to yourself, you're like, oh, you know what? Like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And then boom. And all that happened from a 20-minute conversation. I don't even think we talked that long.
No. It
And
was
that's
over lunch too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? The thing that got me was I was a financial coach for a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. The coaching happens at home because if that person doesn't take anything from that conversation, then they're not really wanting it. I think I wanted it enough that I analyzed it a lot. And it's something that really opened my eyes just having you ask that question. Well, why? What makes you feel that way? What makes me feel that way? And I took that home and I started really evaluating that situation. And at that point, I was like, Jamie, I think we're good. I think we're good. And she's like, well, yeah. And we did the numbers and everything was like, we need to do this. And it didn't take much.
Yeah.
And I think I told my manager in June, I said, I'm going to give you 6 months. And he goes, oh, you're retiring? Like, you're young. I'm like, yeah, I'm retiring. If you want to use that word, I'm reinventing myself. I'm going to do what I want to do instead of what I have to do. But retirement is not going to be about sitting around watching the sunset. It's going to be about doing really cool things. And what I've been wanting to do, I applied that mentality to what I'm doing now. And so, yeah, I think that 2-minute conversation, that analyzing myself of, can I do this? Yeah, I can do it. And the woodworking is just for fun.
Yeah.
You know? But financial coaching was another one of those aha moments for me where you're doing coaching, and I think people just really have to apply themselves and be in it. It's not just something that, oh, well, that's cool. You know, Jake's got a podcast, really cool.
Yeah.
And help self-improvement. And we go through life and we just don't think about it. And then one day we wake up 20 years later and we go, haha, this is what it's about.
Yeah. It was a really cool moment for me and took me a step back because my whole life, since I met you, you'd been my mentor. And then I had the opportunity to mentor you.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, what is going on right now? Like, it kind of like melted my brain for a minute, you know? But it was a really cool, like, powerful moment. And you said something very interesting. The word you even use, language really matters.
Oh.
Retirement is not the same as reinventing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so the language we use to talk about ourselves is a lot different. Work versus what we're doing here today is my mission,
Mm-hmm.
my passion.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot different than this is work.
Yep.
And so that's just something I want to say about language and how important it is and how things matter. Are you using AI much in your business?
Absolutely. I think I wouldn't be where I'm at without it. I think AI is, well, I didn't use what I learned at Caterpillar in AI specifically because it was totally a different thing. We're looking at algorithms, we're looking at other things. I can't digress, but I was doing project management, so I never got into that AI. But when I got into AI in the civilian world, that's when I started thinking, wow. And you would talk to me about it like, hey, just talk to it like a regular person. And you're sitting there, my age, I'm sitting there and it's not a comfortable thing. And you're trying to talk to it like a person. And you're like, okay, Google, you know, like, tell me about this. And we're really structured on one-liners because turn on the lights, turn on the, I have AI, not AI, but I have Googles in my shop. Turn on the dust collector, turn on the fan, and it'll do it because I don't have to hit a switch. But when I use AI now, I talk to it, and it was a really cool thing to break through that because now I could talk. All right, I'm having this situation. I really need it to be something impactful, and I need to know what I need to do. I actually started a whole new platform using AI because I want to help my community. And I said, what can I do to bring my community together of all these veterans and bring them together? And it's like, oh, you can do this, 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 and this. I'm like, okay, let's build on that one. And so I created a web page, created some really cool things that we could do. And I called it Central Illinois Heroes. And I wanted police, I wanted firefighters, not just to be excluded. I want nurses because we all have a purpose in that field where we help and serve, where that serving industry, a military service. And I wanted a community of people that have businesses to all come together and have a place where people can actually find them in our own area. I'm not about being all over the world. I'm about my community. And so I called it ciheroes.com. And that went nowhere.
Okay.
And I learned that in AI. I learned that through innovation as well, that everything can't work right away. You're going to have a lot of failures. Look at Albert Einstein. You know, how many times did it take him to come up with some really cool inventions? He didn't get it on the first try.
Yeah.
And so I learned to fail too. But AI has helped us not fail so fast.
Well, and sometimes if you look at, say, a plant, for example, use this, you can be experiencing growth. This could be growing, but if you sit and you just look at it, it doesn't appear that it's growing.
No.
Right, exactly. And that's how growth is sometimes.
Absolutely.
It
You don't see it.
You don't see it.
Yep.
And so by failing, you are growing. Now, if someone's listening to this and I had a guide for them to how to use AI prompts for their business, do you think that would be helpful?
Absolutely.
If you're watching this, go to my Instagram, Jake Paul Turner, DM me AI and podcast, and I will send you the prompts, the guides I use for AI for my life and business. While we're talking about things, how can people find you, get your great woodworking products? You've made amazing furniture for me. Not that he will make furniture for you for my house, but you have so many cool products, flags, different military stuff. How can people find you?
Yeah, I have an Instagram as well. It's called Pear Talents, Pear Talents, Talents. And we are Pear Talents on Facebook. We're also hashtags, but peartalents.com is our website. I've not used it much for a lot of other things, but yeah, it's definitely going to help.
And definitely make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Really helps out the channel, gets these messages out, and helps support everyone you need to hear these messages. Marrying your wife was one of your defining decisions. What did marriage force you to grow up about?
Ooh, it's you're used to being by yourself, and in the military, you're we talked about this, like you're responsible for yourself. But now, when I got married, I was like, now I have responsibility for my wife too, and everywhere I go, she goes, and it's not about just me all the time. It's about giving, concerning, making sure we got each other's back. You got your best friend that you're living with, and you're taking care of, and they're taking care of you, and finding out where the relationship overlaps each other. But Jamie has just been an eye opener for me. I would say she's my better half, and I think without her, I wouldn't have had the challenges I had. My growth in Christianity wouldn't have been where it is. She was a very strong Christian, and she's very much knows what she wants in life. For me, growing up in Canada, moving to the United States, going into the Marine Corps, it was so structured. And she was like, why does it have to be that way? I think her idea of retirement as well was, you don't have to retire at 65. What is retirement? And we work on that together. We think together, and we come up with some great ideas together, because you should see us develop your table. Oh, we could do this and this and this. And it gives you a bouncing board, right? It's defining your life. And now you're going, oh, I'm not alone. I'm with somebody that I love and I can share my life with. And that's even a greater purpose. And working together and being in step together. And I'm going to go back to Dave Ramsey too. And, and I'm not talking about money, but I really like this analogy that he did about one ox. I forget what kind it is. It will pull so much weight by itself, like maybe let's just say 5,000 pounds by itself.
Okay.
And if they're individually pulling weight, that's their max. That's 5,000. But if you yoke them together, they're not going to pull 5,000. They're not going to pull 10,000. They're not going to pull 15. They're going to pull 25,000 pounds together, because the other one's helping the other one along, and they're both working together in their strengths, pulling that weight. So you can really be impactful if you're correctly yoked with that partner. And I think that's where we're at. We're doing some really cool things.
Yeah, and that's an amazing analogy. And finding a partner, whether there's a good masculine, feminine polarity, and realizing that someone's different than you can be a great strength.
Mm-hmm.
And why have someone who is exactly like you?
I don't want that.
Yeah, I think you want to be aligned on the major things. Religion, values, do you want kids, all those things, but embracing those differences and embracing our strengths and weaknesses. You need this? Okay, I can give that to you.
Right.
Then saying what your needs are. Okay, even if it's a stretch sometimes.
Right.
If that's what the other person needs in the relationship, then you can give it to them.
Mm-hmm.
For people listening to this, you guys have an admirable relationship, and that it's very rare to see, honestly, in these days, people that are married and seem like they're truly happy. What advice would you give to the listeners or me if you give them one piece of advice on how to make a marriage work?
Yeah, it's not about you. It's about how, you marry and you say for better or for worse. You're going to go through issues in your life and you need that support right there. If you're struggling, they need to be that one person you can rely on. It's amazing when it does work. And I think a lot of people give up too early, and that's why our divorce rates are so high. I mean, the number one reason for divorce is money. And if you can't be on that same path together, then you're going to argue about it, and away you go. It's the easy thing to do, right? Society's made it so easy. Drive through annulments. You can get married in Vegas overnight. There's no planning, doesn't need to happen. It's made it convenient. Same way in religion, it's made it convenient. We are a convenient religion. But you're going to make it as good as you want it to make it. So how much time are you putting into your marriage? I couldn't go through every night going out on a date with my wife when we had kids. It was a struggle. We're taking care of the kids. We're going to school. We're going to work. We're trying to make it happen. We know there's a goal at the end, but we worked in our strengths to make it happen. She would go to school certain days. I would go to school certain days. We'd take care in the middle of the night, waking up when our kids were waking up, who's going to do what, and then sharing. Don't be so proud. Don't be so proud of saying, it's above me and she can deal with it. Your spouse is your one person that you should rely on and have in your corner that has your back. And I told Jamie, I was like, I don't feel like I'm always there for you. And I realize that, but tomorrow I'll make it better. And the next day I'll make it better. And the next day I'll just get better, kind of improving this, right?
Yeah.
You make it better and you fail and you make it better. And that person can't give up on you. They have to help you get there. So learning that relationship and the strengths and weaknesses is key.
Yeah. That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
I think in any relationship too, even a friendship, asking for feedback. Because sometimes I feel like guys can be pretty simple to where if you say, hey, what can I do? I'm like, well, do this. Oh, okay. I'll do it. It's like, otherwise, like, no clue, what certain things are, whether it's giving someone, just sitting down and listening. I feel like guys want to fix everything when sometimes we just need to listen. Or, 5-minute neck rub. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everyone has different needs, but it's
For
like,
sure.
I can do that. No problem.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we let pride get in the way sometimes too.
Of course.
We're like, oh yeah, relationship, dudes don't hug, dudes. We don't talk in a car on long rides, we're just chilling.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's something I for sure do.
Yeah.
When I'm driving, I just chill. I can go hours without talking to someone to where if I'm dating someone, I make sure like, is it cool? If, like, I'm not really, if you want to talk about something, I will talk. I have a podcast. I can obviously talk all day, but I can go hours with just chilling and not talk about anything. And I'm good.
Yeah. No, I'm not like that.
No. Well, that's all good. That's why if you
We're
want
all
to talk,
different.
we're going to talk. Yeah, exactly. And just embrace those differences.
Yep.
You believe you don't need credit cards.
Oh boy.
Why do you think most people are addicted to them?
So I had to think about this one. And I don't think people are truly addicted to credit cards because we have some people that use them as tools and they're responsible for them. And that's great. I don't like the mentality that you need a credit card to build credit score. And I was a financial coach. I did a lot of studies on this. But if you start thinking about it, what is the purpose of a credit card? It's to basically look at your debt load and how well you can manage debt. And right now, the current interest rate on a credit card is over 17, 18, 20%, right?
It's high.
And I did some research. I continue to research this. People, even after COVID got better a little bit as far as what the debt ratio was to household, and now it's actually going higher. But the credit card is like a pacifier. If you have money in your wallet and you have a credit card, you're going to pick the credit card to pay with it because there's no impact. There's no emotional impact. You get that card back. And this is Dave Ramsey at its best. And I really appreciate that. You get that credit card back. You get to keep the cash. Everybody wins. Well, it's not for another 30 days that you have to pay that money that's next to your wallet. But what does that do to you? It's a stress. The owing somebody else is a stress. And I've decided that I don't need that stress. And I don't need a FICO score. Because what does that do to me beneficially is I can get more debt. Not more credit, but I can get more debt. If you save your money, you're going to gain that 20% back that these interest rates are going. You can put that in the bank and raise, I mean, a regular CD, which is not recommended, is 4% right now.
Right.
That's 4% more than what you had. And I've had people tell me, well, you're dumb. You should take out a loan for $50,000 and earn the interest in the bank for 4%. I'm like, until you lose your job. And you're dealing with snakes.
Yeah.
You're going to get overdone if you're living your life on credit. I don't think people are addicted to them. It's a tool. And if used right, it works. I don't need that tool because I've been bitten. And so I've learned to stay away from that snake. And I've traveled overseas. I've been to Budapest. I've been to Guatemala. I've been overseas to England. I've never had any issues with my debit card. I rented a car to come here, debit card. No need for a credit card. And there's a lot of myths out there that teach our young kids that you need a credit card to build your credit score. You need a credit card. You need a loan to go to college. No need for a loan. If you work through college and you can pay, you can do it. There's a lot of, you don't who says retirement at 65? Who says you have to get a degree in 4 years? And there's a lot of pressure in college and high schools where kids go, what are you going to do after high school? Well, I'm going to go to this Harvard University, and I'm going to get this loan and I'm going to be out of state and my parents are going to pay for it all. Well, what kind of responsibility are you teaching your kids on that one? Even so far where now toys come with little credit cards where Barbie can go shopping, right? It's convenient. It's not addicting, it's convenient. And that's the way society's doing it. Now we have it on our phones. What's next? Our watches have it, right? Like you can just walk up and buy a coffee at the vending machine.
Yeah.
And where air used to be free, now you can use a credit card to buy air.
Wait, what?
So yes.
Air?
Air for your tires, you can pay on a credit card.
Yes. Yeah. I'm like,
yeah.
air I breathe like.
They have mastered how to use a debit card or a credit card to buy air. So $1's worth of air can now cost you $1.20.
It's wild. And if you think about it, they're not doing it to make your financial situation better.
Who's got the big buildings?
Exactly. Credit card companies.
Absolutely.
I think they'll be like scanning our eyes like eventually. We don't even need a credit card.
Yeah, facial recognition, I mean, the iPhone's got it. Android's got it. You can walk up probably to a vending machine. And, Jamie was telling me on the way here, Ancestry.com now can do facial recognition of your pictures and go back and find out who they were in history.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That's wild.
Yeah. That's AI at its best.
Yeah, it's coming. At the airport too, there's times you can walk through a certain area. Oh yeah. So-and-so.
Yeah.
Name you like.
So think, let me revert back on that too. Like without a credit score, I don't have to worry about credit card scams.
That's true.
That's a benefit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Especially
go ahead, take my credit score. I have nothing.
Right, exactly. Well, and then they know too if something comes up and your credit card's like, yeah, why don't you?
It's easy.
I don't use it. There I know. Because there's going to be, with AI especially, there's going to be some new scams that are going to come out. They're going to be, gosh, my mom's got scammed recently this last year. I'm like, Mom,
I've got friends that got scammed too.
It's
big time.
It's tough. Well, some places will call. They'll call and say, hey, this is so-and-so bank. And I'm like, okay, well, let me just call you right back.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, that's a scam.
Yeah.
It's pretty ballsy for them to call and say, hey, I'm this business. I'm your personal bank, and stating that like it's fact, and it's not. It's like, wow, they're really pushing the envelope too.
Absolutely.
So you got to be careful out there. If someone is in debt right now, what is the first move you'd make them do this week?
Ooh, yeah. If you're in debt, sit down, look at where your money's going, get a bank statement and outline. I'll bet you the number one expense is restaurants because it's so convenient. Start using an envelope for your money. Tell your money where it's going now. letting your money tell you where it wants you to go. And that's a hard thing to do because there's so much emotions behind money. But you got to learn that it's a tool. Like a credit card, it's a tool. Money is a tool, but it has emotions behind it. I don't care who you are. You're not gonna want to spend a $5 bill at a restaurant. You're gonna make it work, and you're gonna go, I'll take the dark meat over the white meat, and I'm not gonna have the fries. I'm gonna have a water to drink. Whereas using a credit card, you're gonna spend 15% more, even more, and you'll pay for the person behind you, right? Another one of those. But you make it work with cash, and learn the envelope where you divide your cash. Groceries, walk into the grocery store with cash. You're going to look at what you're buying. You're not going to just throw things in the basket, and you're going to make recipes, and you're going to start cooking at home, and you're going to do this and this and this, and you're going to start getting better. You're going to eat healthier. You're going to find out that these processed foods aren't really good for you, and that it's a whole lifestyle change. And that's really what happens when somebody starts really paying attention to what's going on in their life, in their checkbook. As Zig Ziglar said, I don't know if it was Zig Ziglar. Anyway, show me somebody's checkbook and I'll tell you where their priorities are.
Yeah. Yeah. Your treasure is where your heart is.
Yeah. Where's Starbucks?
Yeah.
Debit card, 25 here, 25 here, 25 here. And Starbucks is not in the coffee business. Starbucks is a bank. Don't get that wrong.
Really? What do you mean by that?
They have so much money in debit cards. So much money.
Really?
Oh, look at your phone. I've got a debit card on my phone.
I didn't know that.
I've got a Starbucks card on my phone. It's already loaded. They have my money.
Oh, wow.
Because it's already being replenished. And they get you by making you feel special because you have a gold card, right? You can get coffee refills with a gold card.
Wow. This makes you want to buy a Starbucks card.
Absolutely.
I quit drinking coffee, but I still indulge sometimes. But
oh yeah,
I had no idea. Yeah.
I bought my own. I'm going to divulge here. I bought my own espresso machine at home. I think
Yeah.
I sent you a picture of it when I lost power.
Yeah, it was. So
I was
cool.
struggling, man.
It's like
The struggle is real.
Some caffeine, Get the itch for it. Yeah.
Yeah. But
That was the first thing you said. Like, not the power was out. It was like the
coffee
coffee maker's
machine.
not working. Like,
I can't have my coffee. But I bought that because I got tired of getting beaten up at Starbucks. I'm like, yeah, no more. I'm done.
Yeah. Wow.
On road trips, I'll buy it, but it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. How do you think anger has affected your relationship with your wife?
Ooh. Jake, anger was one of the things I took out of the military too. Yeah, this is something that is hard to control. You have one emotion sometimes, and it's just anger. Forgiveness, but also learning to deal with it. I've started recently, after 49 years, realizing that maybe I'm not angry, maybe I'm hangry, right?
Okay.
So I'm realizing my body is talking to me, and I can get flustered over anything. Even a little bit of, I'm in my living room watching TV or the news, or it's dark and I'm sitting there and the lights come on in the kitchen and my kids are making all kinds of noises. And I'm thinking to myself, what is going on? And I had to think back of why I got upset or angry. And it was kind of a aha moment. In boot camp, you're sitting there in the dark and then all the lights go on and they start screaming at you. I had that anxiety of the lights come on, somebody's going to scream at me. And it just made you fall into like an anger. Like, okay, I'm now I'm full of anxiety, but the next thing is fight or flight. I'm going to fight, right? The Marines teach you how to fight. So I get angry. I'm like, okay, you turn off the lights. I don't like it, And so my kids are like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with dad? It's that Vietnam era coming back at me, right? I'm not Vietnam era, but it's that flashback coming back to you and going, oh wow, this is what's really going on in my head. So analyzing what's going on. It may be hunger. It may be something that just sparked anxiety in my body. And it's like, okay, let's talk through this.
You want me to show you a parable, basically, how it shows that anger and how it can affect your relationships.
Absolutely. I love parables.
This is how anger screws up your relationships. Every sharp comment is like a screw in the board. I can't stand you right now. You ruin everything. Why am I even with you? In the moment, feels like power, feels like control, like you finally said what you've been holding back. But then you cool down and you regret it. And you apologize and back the screws out. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I was stressed. And you might feel better, but look, the holes still remain. And that's the relationship. Apologies don't erase the damage from angry words.
Did you talk to Jamie about that one?
I think she's going to get angry about that.
Yeah. Nope.
You said never trust anyone. Where did that come from?
Well, that's not my verse. That's something that I actually grew up with. My dad would tell us that all the time. Don't trust anybody, not even me. And I'm like, wow, Dad, I don't know, like, who can I trust? And then I used that in my life. Like, I don't trust anybody. Well, what do you mean? You got to trust somebody. And we talked about that in the Marine Corps. You got to trust somebody. Some brother's going to have your back, right? Well, I think when you look at that, I can go back to the different stories of the Bible, right? Adam and Eve. If God trusted Adam and Eve to do all things righteous, he gave them free will. There was trust there. Eve ate the apple because the snake told her that she would see what God sees. So I don't think it's don't trust anybody. It's be careful and evaluate what's going on around you. If somebody's hurt you before and you keep going back to them, there's a problem there. But if somebody's hurt you and you go, I'm going to not really put myself open for that. I'm going to stay back a little bit and give them the room. And I'm not going to put myself in that situation again. I don't think it's a trust thing. I think it's more of a evaluation. So when I say don't trust anybody, trust, but be very careful. Evaluate the situation. I have 100% trust for my wife. I trust my dad 100%. But even he said, don't trust me. And I thought that was so harsh. Because if I can't trust him, who can I trust? You know, and that really played a lot in my life. And I had to figure that out because you really lock yourself up if you don't trust anybody. So you have to learn in relationships, you have to build those. And I'm not easy getting along with, I don't get along with everybody right off the bat. I build that relationship over time. I mean, you talked about it 17 years old. Here you are 40, 33 years? No. 23 years?
23. Math. Yeah. 23.
23? I don't know. 23 years of trust, building a relationship. And if I come to you tomorrow and go, hey, Jake, I'm done. I'm tired of you. You'd be like, what? What happened? You know?
Yeah, I'd be a little taken back.
Lloyd. Yeah. And so I build relationships and that has a foundation. And it's not a trust thing. It's a evaluation, Troy.
You know what the paradox is about you believing that don't trust anyone is true? You are trusting that is true.
That is a very well taken point. I mean, that's like an atheist saying, I believe.
Right. Believe in what?
Exactly.
So you inherently are believing, you're trusting that never trusting someone is true.
Right.
So you still have trust, right?
You have trust.
You're already trusting.
Yep, you have it.
So you're already trusting.
Yeah, it was one of those, and you know, I say that in life all the time. You know those rooms that they lock you in, and you have to figure things out. What do they call escape rooms?
Middle school.
Yeah, you get put in this escape room, and you have to figure out where the clues are. Oh my gosh, life is about that. You have to figure out what next door is going to open with what key. And there's a lot of times you can really evaluate your life and go, oh, there was that time, there was that time, there was that time. So if you look through your life, you'll see that.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's powerful. You retired at 49.
Mm-hmm.
Most people can't imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do differently?
Wow. You know, I learned. I had to learn. I'm the youngest of the family. I was told you cannot touch the technology. I was told you're too young to understand. And so that motivated me to go above and beyond what everybody else does. I forced myself to learn technology. I did AI. I never stopped. And I always wanted to know more about what was going on. I think that's where I'm at now, is at 49 years old, I know more about lasers than most people do. I knew more about woodworking than I ever would have thought I knew, but I had to teach myself how to do it. I struggled a lot because we went into so much debt at a young age with kids and everything. We had to learn how to get out of that. Remember, I talked about that escape room. We found how to get out of it. And it was through being debt free and seeing how saving our money, compounding, and not using credit cards into debt, and really pushing ourselves to be where we want to be and having goals. Give yourself a goal, because you will go for that goal. If you don't write a goal down, what's the purpose? So I have goals that I always give myself. If I have somebody ordering something, and I apologize for you because it took me forever to make a table, because I do not like to build furniture.
I know you don't. And I greatly appreciate you taking on those challenges.
But it's something that you wanted, and I felt honored that you picked me. And I had to learn so much more than what I did before, where I took 2x4 furniture and I put it together. I actually used cherry wood on your table, and I learned how to glue it up, and I learned how the wood actually breathes like your home. And you can't just screw a tabletop to the bottom legs. There's specific things you have to do. And so I learned that, right? And it's life's lesson is learning. How do you make yourself learn more and be more valuable, not only to yourself, but to others, and see their value, make them valuable. And I think that's a great thing to say, is I didn't just make myself valuable, but I helped others along the way become more valuable for themselves and for our community.
Beautifully said.
Ah, thanks.
If you had a chance to go back and talk to 9-year-old Jim, what would you say to him?
Wow, there's so much out there. Don't trust everybody.
I think we got that one. Yeah.
No, I got burned a couple times. Learn before you do. Try to learn what it is that you're doing before you do it. I, at 18 years old, bought into a whole life policy plan in the military. I thought they were taking care of me. I thought they were going to give me wealth at 30 years old because I was putting my money away. Whole life policies are not investment strategies. They are not what you want. So learn what it is. I can sit here and tell people over and over and over again, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong. But if I can show you through the way I live, then you see me as an example, and you'll want that. You'll want to know how I did it, and you'll ask me instead of me trying to shove it down your throat. Same with kids. Kids act how they see their parents. If you're screaming at your kids all the time, you're going to get a screaming kid. You're going to get a tantrum. But if you're calm with them, they're going to grow up to be calm. Not very well practiced with how I did things, because being that Marine, I was hardcore. I think I said that a little bit at home, but do what I say and not what as I do is old strategy. Look at what I do and then take that advice. And I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. But as 9-year-old Jimmy, man, I don't know where to start, Jake. I really don't. What do you want to do? Set some goals, and you'll be fine. God's got it.
God's got it. I love it. All right, we're at the point of the podcast where we're doing rapid fire random questions. So shorter, more fun questions. What's the most underrated Marine skill that applies to real life?
Underrated Marine Corps skill is survival. That's not underrated. Trying to come up to my head here. Man, wow, Jake, that's a hard question. Underrated skill. Dressing. Always looking the part. You'll never see a Marine crossing his arms, chewing gum. He'll have his arms behind him. And he'll look professional, respectful, ready. Because if you're holding your arms like this, and two things, long hair, crossed arms, you're always battle ready as a Marine. I don't care who you are. They teach you that, right? Uncross your arms, keep them at the ready. You can defend yourself, right? You never know what's going to happen, especially in this crazy world we're living in. I always wonder why I never let my hair out. This is probably the longest I've ever had my hair in a while. I keep it short. Why? Why do they cut your hair so short in Marines? Battle. You don't want somebody grabbing your hair and getting the upper hand.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Makes me want to cut my hair short. What's one thing you still do like you're in the military?
Ooh. Everything is by the number. I have a purpose for everything. And I think that carried on into my more of an engineering thing too. Everything's structured. Everything has a purpose. In my shop, every place, every tool has a purpose. If it doesn't have a purpose, it doesn't stay.
Yeah, that's awesome. Quick side note. I bought you a sign that says measure twice, cut once.
Yeah.
And then it's cut off slightly where it says once. And I super tripped out because I'd given this to you. And the main point I'm telling you is like your actions affect other people. Mm-hmm. And when you were on another show on the news, you gifted the news lady the same sign. I'm like, my actions affect other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Jake, that is one of our great sellers because it's so true, right? Man, when I got that sign from you, I was like, measure twig. Oh, I get it. I'm a woodworker, right? Twig.
Yeah, the E's cut off.
And you'll find people walking by. We'll have one sign, and we only carry one in the shop in our wherever we're selling it. And people will go, and they'll keep walking. They don't get it. But some people will go, oh my gosh, that is hilarious, And I'm like, yeah, my friend gave it to me. And so that carried on forward. And I think that's the only one that I like doing and I like giving. It's really funny because you can use any piece of wood that you have. And I've actually used pieces of wood that I've cut on my CNC that have parts cut out of the board. Like I didn't measure correctly. And then even on the back, I will laser a piece that was cut into and it says never measured twice here. Like I miscut.
Yeah.
So I'm selling my miscuts. Wow. Which is ironic.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So see, that you taught me something else because I thought this was just another one-time gift. I didn't realize you're also selling these regularly on your website. Yeah. So the one time I did something nice for you, completely changed your selling things with your business and is on this other. Who knows how much it's affecting other people as well too.
Yeah, and you learn from other people, and I don't like to take their ideas, so I modify it to my own.
Of course.
And so that's where those pieces of offcuts come in. It could be a perfect rectangle, or I could put jagged edges on it, or I could do fun things where I didn't measure and I sell my scrap wood that was really, really cool. And I think I have that in my shop, like the one you gave me, super right above the door, measure twig, Jim. and every time I mess up, I go, oh, measure twig. There's other variations of that, right? Like measure twice, cuss once.
Yeah.
Measure once, cuss twice, something like that. Yeah.
Cuss 5 times, cut once.
Yeah.
What's your favorite tool in your shop?
Ooh, I have multiple tools. I would say my Dremel. I don't use it a lot, but when I do use it, it's very impactful. That's the one I use to carve my stars with.
Okay.
And those stars are very meaningful. I have 2 CNCs, 2 lasers. I just got a new UV laser. But those are easy. The Dremel takes skill. It takes patience. It takes finesse to carve the stars to a point. And then to basically dedicate a star to every fallen member or POW, that is impactful. So I can have a lot of impact with that tool.
Before the final question, I want to show you something.
Right on.
life will cut your plan in half. The support disappears, so you become the support. Don't panic. Don't spiral. Adapt and keep moving. Final question on the podcast. What's the one thing you've done that's made the biggest difference in your life?
Giving my life to God, letting him have the steering wheel, not thinking about what I need to do, but praying over every situation, I think is probably the best thing I could have ever done.
That's awesome, Jim. Beautifully well said. Again, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Love and appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.